Great. So I want to welcome everybody here this evening. This is our Teaching Techniques Zoom workshop, and we've offered several so far, and Jimena Perez-Viscasillas and Lily Genovesi, hope I said that right, ladies, they are our featured speakers for this evening. We are very happy and proud to have them talk to this group. And so before I get started, I just want to say that I met Jimena at our 2023 conference at Mercy College. And so through, and I also met Lily at the Oyster Festival this past summer, actually, on City Island. And so I have a connection with both ladies. And basically through our networking, we're really trying to collaborate and partner with many organizations and offer resources that they have and resources that we have to our membership. This evening's talk is one of those resources. So before we get started, and I give you a little insight to their backgrounds, I just want to make a couple of announcements. We are in the middle of a poster contest judging phase, and you may have seen that advertised many times in our Strandline newsletter or our ambergris announcements. So just get on to the Strandline newsletter or go to our website, and you could click and be part of the whole judging process. There are over 100 submissions, and STANIES, which is the Science Teachers Council of New York State, they with NESME are helping to offer up this contest. And the event will take place at Jones Beach Energy and Environmental Center on April 5th, Saturday, April 5th. And we'll get a chance to see the winners and also all the submissions as well, network with people who are invited. And then, and so that's on April 5th. On April 3rd, 2 days before, we're going to have our monthly First Thursday speaker. And this speaker is Judith Weiss, and she's going to talk about her book here, which is Marine Pollution, What Everyone Needs to Know. And so look for that. Look for advertisements for that. That's going to come out right after this talk this evening. And then, of course, on May 3rd at SUNY Maritime is our conference. And this year we're celebrating our 50th anniversary, right, Lou? And so
Yes.
Lou was our first president and and also served again most recently, and the founder of the organization. And so we're really happy to celebrate along with many federal organizations that are celebrating their 50th anniversary as well. So we feel kind of important in that way. But without any further ado, let me get going here. So we welcome Lily Genovesi and Jimena Viscasillas. Lily is the New York City Westchester Outreach Coordinator for the Long Island Sound Study with New York Sea Grant. She plays a key role in coastal resiliency, public outreach, and community engagement efforts. As part of the LISS team, she focuses on public access initiatives under the Comprehensive Conservation Management Plan, CCMP, fostering education, stewardship, and community involvement in environmental protection. And Jimena Viscasillas is the Long Island Outreach Coordinator for the Long Island Sound Study with New York Sea Grant, where she focuses on environmental education, stewardship, and engagement. She loves participatory science and behavior change through active coastal active coastal stewardship, and has worked on programs like Community Science Long Island, the Long Island Coastal BioBlitz, and the Long Island River Herring Volunteer Monitoring Program. Along with Lily, She helps to run the Long Island Sound Mentor Teacher Program for teachers and the Sound Stewards Program for students, as well as community engagement and stewardship events and resources. Jimena is based out of the New York Sea Grant office at Stony Brook University, Stony Brook, New York, where she works with communities across Long Island to help connect them with the North Shore and its treasures. And before we have them talk, I just also would like to thank all the people involved, and that means Lou Siegel for helping to promote this particular program and all of his efforts to help do that on a monthly basis. So thank you, Lou. And without any further ado, take it away, ladies.
Thank you, Lisa. And hi, everybody. I don't think that we need to introduce ourselves after that. But I'm Jimena, and my co-presenter today is Lily. And like Lisa said, we work with New York Sea Grant, and we are part of the Long Island Sound Study Estuary program. So what we're going to do today is we want to talk a little bit about both of those organizations, give you a little bit of background about what we do, and then we'll dive into how we do conservation around Long Island Sound just a little bit. And the bulk of the presentation will focus on sharing with you some of the educational resources and tools that we have both online. So I'll cover that. And then Lily will share some of our in-person opportunities that you kind of heard a little bit about from Lisa just now. Before I fully jump in, I'm curious, just maybe show of hands or in the chat. Who are folks here familiar with New York Sea Grant? Yes. I'm seeing, okay, I'm seeing some nods. I'm seeing some hands. I saw someone go no. Oh, we got you. Don't worry. What about Long Island Sound Study? Are folks familiar with that? Yes. All right, I see Fanny raised her hand. I see a yes from Sarah. All right, great. Okay, so I'll jump right in. So the National Sea Grant College Program, we are part of this program. The mission of Sea Grant is to enhance the practical use and conservation of coastal, marine, and Great Lakes resources in order to create a sustainable economy and environment. And as you can see from that map, I mean, it's tiny and it gets kind of messy in the Northeast because there's a lot of water in a lot of states in the Northeast. But basically, there's a Sea Grant program in every single state and territory that's coastal or has, is adjacent to a Great Lakes. So there's a lot of Sea Grant programs. And the way Sea Grant programs are a federal and university institution partnership. All of the Sea Grant programs are a little bit different, but that's usually how it works. A partnership between NOAA, so the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and then a university institution in each of those states. So in our case, we are with SUNY and Cornell University. And the way that Sea Grant operates is through a three-pronged approach. So we have research, and where we're basically funding marine and Great Lakes research to better understand our coastal environments and economies. And then we have the extension and education side of things, where we have a lot of education and extension specialists that, like ourselves, who help share that science with communities and with teachers and with students. So I'm going to dive into New York Sea Grant, right? So we're one of the many programs. We're actually one of the biggest programs, I think, in the whole Sea Grant network, and that makes sense, right? Because we have a lot of water around us. We have two of the Great Lakes. We have Long Island Sound. We have the Atlantic. We have the Hudson, and each of these stars you see here is an office where at least one of our staff members is, and we have folks covering a lot of different topics. Some of them include erosion and coastal hazards, marine fisheries and aquaculture, seafood safety, and we actually had a colleague, Mike Ciaramella, who you might have heard from recently. I think he joined one of your talks. Flooding, marine debris, coastal resilience, estuary conservation, and Great Lakes literacy. And the way that we do that is through a lot of community engagement, right? This is our colleague Nate up having a teacher workshop up in the Great Lakes. This is Helen. She left the program at this point, but she was a flooding expert. She was working in Brooklyn with communities there. These are some students through our Sound Stewards program, which you'll hear about. So basically, we work up through, with communities and through partnerships. And one of the bigger partnerships that we have is the Long Island Sound Study, and I'll leave it up to Lily to talk about it now.
Thank you, Jimena. So Long Island Sound Study is actually a collaboration and a partnership between two groups, two states, New York and Connecticut. So the states that are, bordering the Long Island Sound, and it's run by the EPA. So it's a collaborative partnership. We are going through a process of change right now, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So next slide, please. And both New York and Connecticut Sea Grant are collaborating in this partnership, along with many, many other partners throughout both states. So the way that the partnership works is we focus on these particular themes and goals that you see here. There are 4 goals, and we have a new informed and engaged public goal with its individual objectives that I'll talk about, and that's sort of the umbrella under which Jimena and I work mostly. So our other goals include clean waters and healthy watersheds, sustainable and resilient communities, and thriving habitats, and abundant wildlife. So the partnership is actually celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, which is really exciting, and we'll be releasing a new comprehensive conservation management plan, what guides the entire program. So this 10-year guide will tell us what exactly our goals, objectives, and the metrics that we need to measure to meet these goals, and which partners we work with. So funded federally and by the states as well. Oh yeah, next slide, please. So this diagram here shows the entire watershed of Long Island Sound. You can see it stretches all the way to Canada. And it includes all of these states here, Vermont and New Hampshire. And I think in a little bit, Jimena is going to be sharing with you the population story map that goes like deeper into each of these communities. But all the water from these areas drains into the Long Island Sound. So we, even though Jimena and I are focused in New York State, the partnership does have some outreach efforts in these other areas as well. And people find it so unbelievable that, this is such a massive watershed. More than about 30 million people live within 50 miles of Long Island Sound. So we can go to the next slide. Of course, if you are familiar with New York City, you know that it's very hard to convince people that they are bordering Long Island Sound. Most people, in my experience, don't really know that Long Island Sound is here. It's in our backyard. And based out of the DEP office in Queens. So, it's that's one of the areas of Long Island Sound. So it's divided into these 3 main basins. And if you look on the very left side, you'll see that Queens is the westernmost border of Long Island Sound. So it stretches all the way from Hell's Gate Bridge to the eastern basin in Block Island. Again, about 30 million people within just 50 miles of this coast. So it's a very active and impressive water body. Some people call it the Mediterranean of the United States. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, Jimena and I work under the Informed and Engaged Public Work Group, or goal group. So we have a work group that is made up of organizations, partners, state agencies, and many other folks that help us or will be helping us to reach these objectives and goals. So public access and a sense of belonging are one of our newer objectives, and we're certainly going to be looking into increasing public access, making sure we have new sites that are available for people. We've heard through Jimena and I helped to run a needs assessment that identified, public access as one of the big needs in our areas. And then we also focus on education and environmental literacy. And then, as Jimena mentioned, stewardship and sustainable behavior is really important. Next slide, please. All right, that's me. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Lily. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the online resources and tools first. But the way that I'm going to do this is what I'm going to go over. But the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to actually hop online and kind of click through things and walk you through them. But just to give you like a quick bird's eye view of what that's going to be, I'm going to show you how to access our newsletters and how to sign up for them. Show you our sound facts, which are very cute and you can use with your students if you'd like. Living Treasures, which is a booklet and some slides. Our educational resource catalog, a couple of story maps that we have, which are really useful, a curriculum, and the Sound Health Explorer, which is not actually ours, but it's really great, and I always like sharing it. So just so you know where I'm going to be most of the time, this is our website, the Long Island Soundstudy.net. And you can follow along if you'd like. I'm going to go pretty fast, I think. So I would recommend you just look at what I'm doing and then come back to the recording if you'd like. So just checking, you can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I am, like I said, at longislandsoundstudy.net, and I can put this in the chat after I'm done here. And so this is our homepage. If you go down to the very bottom, down here, you'll see where it says newsletter sign up. You can input your email address, and that's where you can sign up for the 2 different kinds of newsletters that we have, and you can choose which one you want. And I'll show you what they are. And you can also access them online here. You go up here to our media center, newsletters, and you'll find them here. So we have 2 different kinds of newsletters. Sound Matters is kind of semi-quarterly, and it comes straight to your inbox. And I'll give you an example of the latest one here. Sound bites, some of the latest updates, different kinds of projects happening in the region, in our program. In this one, they included information about the latest extent of hypoxia, for example. So if you're curious to be on top of things, this one is a good one to sign up for. It's called Sound Matters. The other one is a yearly newsletter. You can see it here, the Year in Review 2023. It's called Sound Update. So I opened the latest one here. With the 2024 one isn't ready yet. So I'll show you the one previous to that. So this one, as you can see, we do have it on the website if you want to just look at it. But we also print it, and people sign up and you can have it mailed to you. And this one is kind of a year in review. We share kind of some of the major projects that happened or that concluded in the previous year. Significant numbers, like the year by numbers, some of the projects going on related to conservation of the sound. And you'll see there's like projects all the way up in the watershed, kind of giving you an idea of what's going on, educational projects, habitat restoration, all that kind of stuff. So see here, this, and then different kinds of articles, again, kind of covering what happened in the previous year, like different kinds of projects going on. And this one is a map of habitat restoration and protection from 2023, right? So those are our newsletters. And again, you can sign up for them in the here at the bottom of the homepage. The other thing I want to show you still in our media center is our sound facts. So you go here and we have these really cute visuals, and we publish them every so often. And they're facts about Long Island Sound, right? And the different kinds of, animals or challenges. Sometimes we share like the top 10 litter items that we find around the Sound in our cleanups. And so as you can see, they're just really cute little visuals. And then if you want to know more, let's click on this one, for example. You can read more about it. So in this case, about horseshoe crabs, and I'll give you more information about this particular species, right? So that's another piece that I wanted to share about. So now let's go to the main thing that I want to talk about, which is educational resources. I have the page here, but let me go to home page so that you can see how I got there. So if I go to the home page, I go to get involved, and under educational resources, that's where that is. All right. And as you can see, this is where most of the information that you as an educator would probably be looking for. I mean, there's a lot to look at in our website. If you're looking for like certain data, you can look for that too. And I'm happy to cover that at the end if people are interested. But for educators, we have this section. And I won't cover all of it, but just sharing some highlights. So here, Tour of Long Island Sound through pictures. If you click here, there are two main resources here. This one is an undersea tour. This one is a little bit old. This one is from 2001. But it's still kind of a cool story map if you're interested. It was created using an ROV, and it's got like pictures of the east end of Long Island underwater, and it just kind of shows some of the different organisms they found down there and kind of some information down here. So cool to check out if people are interested. But the main thing I want to share with you is Living Treasures. So Living Treasures is a booklet that was produced by Connecticut Sea Grant, and it was produced back in the 1990s, but they updated it in 2021. And there are physical booklets, and Lily and I have some, and we're happy to give you some. If you're interested, you can just email us. But there's also online presentations for this resource. So you can see here, let's look at marshes, for example. You can see it's divided by habitat, and it's got some of the features, some of the organisms that you might find in each of these habitats. And so this is available for download both in English and in Spanish down here. And these are PDFs, but if you wanted the PowerPoint, that's also available down here in Spanish and English, so you can edit it. And it's also got speaker's notes, so you can get the good behind the scenes of what help you when educating with your students. So that is the tour of Long Island Sound. I'm going to go back to educational resources. So we just looked at this. I'm not going to dive into these two. I'll leave that up to you, and I'll admit that we're working on updating some of these. But this one is some of the organizations around the Sound that offer field trips and things like that. So you might be interested in looking at those. And then this one is a list of some websites that have curriculums or maps or things like that that you might also be interested in checking out. So the other one I'm going to dive into right now is this one, the Long Island Sound Resource Catalog for educators and parents. So I'll click here. I'm going to close this one. We already took the tour. So this first landing page is just information of how this got made. But once you click here, this is the catalog. And if ever you have a resource and you don't find it here, please email us, and we'd love to know about it to see if we can include it. But this is some that we have compiled, and then here you can search by tags. So say you are searching for video clips, you can click here, and then it'll show you the video clips. Notice too that it's got the education levels, and you can search by education level here. Say you wanted in-person events, well, there are the in-person events. You can also search by topic, so biology, estuary, sustainability, that kind of thing. And some of the resources that I'm going to show you now, some of them are here. Not all of them, but some of them are here. Okay, so next up on my list is, okay, let's dive into some of the examples that I wanted to show with you. I'm going to go back to get involved, educational resources. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some of the specific resources that I think you will find helpful. The first one is this one, the Habitat Story Map tool. And this, you will find it in the catalog, but you'll see it's also a widget here, and that's how you can access it. So this landing page will give you, this landing page is actually really helpful. When we launched this tool, we actually put a webinar together and we had a panel of different experts come and talk about some of the challenges they face in their different habitats. And you can find that panel down here, as well as a walkthrough, you know, a more thorough walkthrough of this tool. So I invite you to look at that. This landing page also has down here some additional resources, including next generation science standards for elementary, for high school. The current tool is for middle schoolers, but this one, you know, has options if you're depending on what kind of teacher you are. And then information on accessibility. So how to, you know, helping with accessibility depending on whether you're on iPhone or on Android, things like that. But I'll show you the tool itself. There are two versions. There's a teacher version and there's a student version. And I have them opened here. The student version, you'll notice, is bulleted, right? Short attention spans nowadays. So it gets straight to the point. But it has introduction to what this is and what Long Island Sound is. And then it highlights 7 different kinds of habitats that we find around Long Island Sound. So I'm just going to click on one to give you an example. Let's again look at salt marshes. So you've got the bullets here. What are salt marshes? What are some of the features that you might find? And then for each of the habitats, it shows a map of different places where you might find that habitat within the Long Island Sound, you know, region. So here I'll just keep going, but here you can see examples. Some of them have multiple pictures and you can click on the pictures and see them bigger, right? And you can kind of keep exploring that way. So underneath that, you see some of the species that you might encounter in these ecosystems. So you'll see gulls in this one, right? Fiddler crabs. What's down that hole? Then we keep going down. There are some of the threats for these habitats. And this one is talking about Phragmites, for example, an invasive species. Then there's usually we have videos from experts, and some of these experts are the ones that we featured in that panel that I mentioned. And then in the student, well, in both the student and teacher versions, we have activities related to each of these habitats. So if you go to the teacher version of this, and let's go to salt marshes so we can compare. Here you see you have a little bit more information for the teacher version. I'm going to go through this quicker so we can catch up. Here are the threats, a bit more information again for the teachers, a bit more background. The activity, you'll find the educational resources related to the habitat, lesson plans that you might be interested in related to that habitat, and then the NGSS connection of that particular activity. So a lot to explore there. I'm gonna close this up now and keep going. All right, so the next thing that I want to show you, let's go back to educational resources. Okay, the next one I want to show you is down here, and it's a module. It was, what is the website? I see that question. What is that question? I'll get to it later, Yona. Keep it in your mind. So the next resource I want to share about is this one. It's a module. This one we created during 2020 when we couldn't go anywhere. And this module was created by Beth Lawrence, who's a professor at UConn, and Lee Williams, who some of you might know. She's a teacher in Smithtown. And there was another teacher from Connecticut who worked on this. But basically, it's a five-day module that speaks to a sea level rise and the effects of sea level rise on salt marshes. And they did an amazing job putting something together. And again, they did a webinar about it and they walked through it. So I'm not going to walk through it now, but you can check that out as well. and you can access the module down here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to share with you is I'm going to leave that for last. The next thing I'm going to show you, I'm sorry I'm jumping around a little bit, is actually a New York Sea Grant resource. So if you go to our webpage, New York Sea Grant, I think you can just Google us, New York Sea Grant, and you go to education and curricula and other resources, you'll find some curriculums there. To be honest with you, this website is very old and I don't love it. But all I want is to show you how to find this particular curriculum, which is right here. It's called Plastic Pollution in You, and it was created recently. It's a really great resource for talking about plastic pollution and marine debris with your students. And if you click on this, it's going to ask you just for your email, your name, because you know, we like to check out who's using our resources. But I can give you a sneak peek of what it looks like here. So this is basically a big curriculum around plastic pollution. And if you go down, you can see, I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see it. But you can see the different units, plastic pollution, and each of it has interactive lessons, materials, more resources connected to it. You can see we've got plastic pollution, plastic reduction, plastic pollution in our water. And just to give you an example of of a lesson, let's jump to this one. So this one is about creating your own outreach campaign. And you can see this is the grade level, the time it usually takes to implement this lesson. On the side, it'll show you some of the recommended materials and it'll link to them. Some of the learning standards associated with the resource. In this case, it's about, again, creating your own outreach campaign. So this is what students would use to, you know, walk through it, choosing a target audience, choosing a message. These are some of the examples that this curriculum uses. It's the bio bag from DEC and some of their messaging. And then you can see that they also included down here templates for the students to draw on and create, you know, their own kind of outreach and get really creative with it. All right, so I have two more resources for you, and I know I'm over time, so I'm gonna try to hurry up. I'm gonna close this here, and
You're fine. You have plenty of time.
I'm good. All right. I want to make sure Lily has time to talk about her side of things. Okay. I'm gonna leave this one for last because this one is a very bulky story map. So this one is the one that I mentioned that is not a Long Island Sound Study resource or a New York Sea Grant resource, but I like recommending it, especially for teachers, because again, it's a really great resource just for, you know, visually understanding the health of our waterways and kind of exploring what that looks like. So if you search soundhealthexplorer.org, and this is something that Save the Sound created. Up here, you can kind of find some of the different maps. So let's click on swimmable first, for example. And then you can see different kinds of places. You can find where are the wastewater treatment plants near me. We can find the combined sewer overflows. All right, let's look at that, for example. And then this also shows public, different kinds of beach access or access points. So public with pass, private. Anyway, a lot of different information here. Fishable is the one that I generally recommend for teachers as well. So if we go down here, and again, you can choose your map layers. They have the open water here, basin harbors, and again, some of the, you know, kayak launches, wastewater treatment plants. We can click on this to kind of compare and see. That would be an interesting exercise. So I'm choosing wastewater treatment plants. I'm going to choose the combined sewer overflows, basin harbors, and open water. Okay, we have all of that on our map. So if we go here to the indicators, I think right now we're looking at this, the overall health index. Let's look at dissolved oxygen. So here we see dissolved oxygen in 2023, red, and here are the grades. And if you click here, it'll talk more, go more into the nitty-gritty of what those grades mean. But you can kind of see based on color, right? And it's an interesting exercise to look through this and talk about why we're seeing these trends. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the wastewater treatment plants and the overflows, but you get the idea. And down here, if you want to look into the past, you can also do that, make comparisons, all that kind of stuff. And again, you can see here there's different kinds of indicators. We've got water quality, we've got chlorophyll, we've got seaweed, different kinds of things. So the final resource that I want to share is this one, and this one was just launched. There was a webinar on this today, and it's very bulky, so I hope that this cooperates. But this is a story map that talks about the intersection of people and the environment in the Long Island Sound watershed. And so it's really, really full of information. So here you'll see the different parts of this story map. We've got Long Island Sound, land cover, political boundaries, where the people are. It's got a lot of data, and then it's also got stories. And I don't have time to dig into all of it because, again, there's so much information in this story map. But I invite you to explore it because it's so rich. I really love it. I really recommend it. I haven't explored it fully myself, and I helped make it. So, so here's one example. I clicked on waterways, and there it's loading all of the different rivers in our area here. We keep going down. The Long Island Sound watershed is 16,646 square miles. Shows all the area. It shows the percentage of each state that makes up the watershed. Ooh, I'm really over time. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up so that Lily can go, but yeah, I invite you to check this one out. And this one hasn't been added to the educator resource catalog just yet, but I'm hoping we will. And the way to access this one, let me just show you how to access it, and then I'll hand it over back to you, Lily. If you go to the homepage right now where this one lives, is you go to, actually, go to the media center, latest news, and this is where it lives right now. All right, okay. So that's it. And Lily, I'm gonna pass it back over to you. I'm sorry I went over time.
No, this is so great. Thank you, Jimena. And we want to leave enough room for questions too. So, what Jimena shared really is our program. It's all the information is on this website. Everything I'm including in my presentations as well can be found there. And just as she was presenting, I was thinking, one real good way, I think, to move forward with making sure all the information is reaching the marine educators is maybe having, Lisa and Lou, maybe you on our some of our work group emails to be able to collaborate with us. So I'm going to talk about some of the in-person opportunities very, very briefly. These are just some of the opportunities we have. We have our mentor teacher program. That's probably the most important and key program that would be helpful to our marine educators here. Our professional learning opportunities, the Sound Stewards program, which is definitely also geared towards teachers and students. These are field trips. Our internships, the Eco Ambassadors program, which is fairly new, and then a few other things related to volunteering and the Long Island Schools Network. I'm just going to pop in the chat some of the websites in case I don't get around to them, but we can go to the next slide. Thank you for sharing. So Long Island Sound Mentor Teacher Program, you might have heard about this. We basically have teachers, a pair of teachers from three of our different regions, so Westchester, New York City, and Long Island, develop workshops for other teachers and lead these workshops. So we'll pick an area along the coast, or actually the teachers will do that, and they'll schedule a full workshop, a day-long workshop, with everything from exploring the waterfront to partnering with other organizations to doing water quality analysis and making eelgrass tortillas. This is something Jimena was leading with her mentor teachers on Long Island. The teachers who are leading this program apply to our program. The information is on our website. We could put it in the chat because that application period is open now. So anybody is welcome to apply. There's just a very brief application form, and then the teachers will get a stipend for doing this work. In addition to the teachers that are leading the workshop and have this opportunity, we also then in the fall will invite teachers to participate in these workshops. They're generally free, and again, there's one typically in Long Island and New York City and Westchester County. So for example, we had SUNY Maritime host one of our mentor teacher workshops. We took the research vessel out and we're able to take a group on there.
I work in a dungeon.
I think someone has their mic on. There's some background noise coming through.
I was trying to see if I could mute there. We go. And then let's see, the Sound Stewards program is a program designed, it actually was first took place on Long Island, and it invites students to come out to the coast with their teachers. And this can vary from group to group. We're very flexible and accommodating students with, all different ages and all different, interests. So the way I run it in New York City and Westchester County is we focus on that unified water study that Jimena touched on when she was talking about the sound report card. So we'll bring students out, we'll do water quality testing, just like they do for this unified water study that then informs the report card. So they'll get to learn what's dissolved oxygen and nitrogen and pH and why that's important to our marine organisms. And then we do some seining, which is always very fun. And I think seining is like a key component of this project, and it gets everyone really excited. So we can go to the next slide. The community engaged internship, we actually just closed our application process. We're going to start interviews this week. This is a way to engage undergraduate students in the work that New York Sea Grant is doing. So this year, I think we're hosting 7 different interns. I'll be having 2 in New York City. There's additional ones. The next few slides are all presentations that these interns actually made as their final project, and they presented these to our work group and to a national network as well. So it's a Sea Grant wide collaborative. This slide here is made by Victoria Charles. She actually was doing natural and nature-based features monitoring throughout New York City along the Bronx River mostly. We can go to the next slide, Jimena. And then we had my intern Crow doing work with the Eco Ambassador. So this is an opportunity to be on the lookout for. I wasn't able to get the registration information yet. I think it hasn't been released by our partners at Lamont Doherty from Columbia University, but this is an opportunity for students to engage in a summer course that's focused on the Sustainable Development Goals. And our last year's focus was on microplastics. So students were actually participating. They went to the lab if they were local to the New York, New Jersey area. They did some microplastic sampling, and then they created these beautiful story maps, or GIS story maps, that were then shared on the SDGs Today website. And I can also put that link in the chat at some point. The next slide, please. Jimena, did you want to talk about the Diamondback terrapin work?
Yeah. So my intern last year was Shanique Racheli, and she spent most of her summer helping do Diamondback terrapin monitoring with a local organization called Friends of Flex Pond. They do this every summer. And yeah, there she is holding one of the torts she found. And so that's the bulk of what she did. She also helped digitize some of their data. This program has, goes back years and years and years. And she also worked with us on communications a little bit, created, social media posts that you can find if you go to our Instagram, and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think our social media is also a great resource for figuring out, all the new things that are coming out of New York Sea Grant and Long Island Sound Study. We do have 33 stewardship sites. The stewardship initiative is sort of newly kicking off. In New York City, there's the Orchard, Pelham Bay Park and Alley Pond Park. Those are two stewardship sites run by New York City Parks. And then in Westchester County, we have marshlands and reed sanctuaries. So these are great. This is available on our website. This is a great place to check for volunteer opportunities, which I'm going to talk about next. And I also shared one of them in the chat. We can go to the next slide. So MyCoast is, if you're looking for ways to engage with New York Sea Grant and do, hands-on citizen science work, New York MyCoast is always available, and it's a statewide effort. So this is one that can be used anywhere in New York State. So if you're seeing flooding, you can document it. The photos that are taken and uploaded to this application are connected to things like tides and weather. And so there's this entire library of documented flooding events. There's also a storm documenting tool available as well, and a marine debris one is in the works. So this is a great resource. When I get students asking me what they could do to participate, I think this is one of the main resources I send them to. And then next slide, please. Oh, yeah, there we go. So we have a training coming up on March 27th. Is that the right date, Jimena? I think I put the wrong date.
It's the 25th. It is Tuesday, but it's the 25th.
Yes, I'm sorry, I put the wrong number there. So the training is coming up on March 25th, and there's a link in the chat. So that's important. It's there. If you are interested in helping us to monitor these migratory fish, so river herring and eels, I encourage you to participate in the training. It's also recorded on this website, so you can just watch the recording. This is another already set, ready to go citizen science program that people can participate in, anybody of any age, as long as they're within these areas along the North Shore of Long Island, where they can see these there's barriers, and there's going to be the eels and the river herring coming. And you just stand there and document the information. It runs from March 1st to May 30th.
Can I add something real quick, Lily?
Sure.
So for the North Shore and Lily's region, Westchester, Bronx, Queens, we're also offering water quality testing kits to folks who might be interested in doing that as well, because we're recruiting groups and teachers who are interested in doing it with their students. And the reality is that most likely you're not going to see fish. And so to keep things interesting for students, we thought we'll give this option as well. So just throwing that out there too.
Yes, thank you. That should keep it interesting. And then just 2 more slides, and then we'll hopefully have some time for questions. Follow us on social media. It helps us. It helps you, hopefully. We have, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So for instance, our internship program was on, we advertised that on LinkedIn. So if you have, students in high school and they're going off to college, it's a great way to get them, engaged in our work as well. And our last slide is just some of the resources that we have and how you can contact us. Like Jimena mentioned, we have these Living Treasures books. They're really great for students. If you'd like a class set, I'm happy to help organize, mailing out of those materials. And then we have these wonderful stickers that we generally hand out at our events, and I'll make sure to bring some to the May 3rd event that you're hosting at Maritime. So thank you very much. And I'm happy to take any questions. And I think I owe you some more links for the chat. I can't remember which ones they were, but.
Oh, that's great. Thank you both so very much. That was a great presentation. And I learned quite a lot more about what you do. And I just, I have a few questions, but I really want to open it up to the people who are attending here tonight. So if anybody just wants to jump in, that's fine. Ask your question. Just go right ahead, or if you want to raise your hand, I'll call on you. Go ahead, Lori.
I just had a question. We're being that we're in New Jersey and obviously far from Long Island Sound, as part of our grant for the Tri-State Blue School, it was to partner up with a school that might be working with studying the Long Island Sound and then the watershed, and then maybe creating Zoom Pal where we would kind of talk about what we're learning about our watershed that's around us, and they could talk about their what they're finding about their watershed, and with the idea that all of the watersheds, everything ends up in the ocean, and everything that we do affects the ocean as a whole. And would there is there any sort of a resource that I could have or find that I could find schools that might be working with learning about the sound?
Yes, and I put in the chat and then I didn't talk about, which is why I'm glad I did that. The Long Island Sound Schools Network is probably a good place to find, you know, partner school. And Meg Marrero, who's also part of NSMIA, she is one of, you know, helps lead this effort. So that's one place to look and to reach out to.
So that's the one that's in the last one that you put in the chat, the Eco Ambassadors.
Actually, the Eco Ambassadors would be great if you're teaching in New Jersey. Because, you know, it's actually open to students all over the world, but we
Okay.
didn't have a good cohort of New Jersey students last year. It's the second one, learn more.
I think there's a listing of blue schools, you know, and there, I'm sure that there are some that are in the Sound
Okay.
that are part of the program. Again,
Okay.
Meg Marrero, again, would be the one that to contact.
Yes, that she's the one that does our monthly meeting.
Right.
Okay.
I'm
Perfect.
And I would say come to our mentor teacher workshops or, you know, our professional development opportunities there. You can find them, you know, through either our website or through our social media is probably easier.
Okay. Perfect. This was wonderful. Thank you so very much.
And Lily, is there a Sea Grant in every state?
Not every state, every coastal state and any state that has a Great Lake or a big, you know.
Okay, so it might also be a good idea to try and reach out to Sea Grant in New Jersey
Okay.
to see what it is they're doing as well. Maybe they're doing, you know, some of the similar things. I don't know what their website looks like, but you could probably add to your toolkit with contacts from New Jersey as well.
That's perfect.
Also Gateway at Sandy Hook.
Okay.
Yeah, New
Gateway
Jersey.
in the Sea Grant of New Jersey.
Yeah, Sea Grant New Jersey partners with us on Eco Ambassadors too.
Okay. Awesome.
Another good.
Thank you very much. I'm going to run. I just have to, we're going to be celebrating my son's 30th birthday in a few minutes. So thank you so much for letting me join. And I really learned so much. I jotted down all your resources and I've already been on the sites. So while this was going on, and they're fabulous.
The May 3rd is a short conference is in the Bronx, a short distance from the George Washington Bridge. So
yep. So we have
Right.
that. And then I know the
Right.
Tri-State, I think they've got something on May 4th, or we're hoping that people would do both.
great.
Right.
Thank you and have a very good night.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Okay, thanks. All right, bye.
So I wanted to show you, ladies, that I have
Oh,
the
yeah,
Living
yeah.
Treasures.
Oh, yay.
Oh, I love
I
that
love this book.
pamphlet.
I actually have the older one too, the older version.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
And I also love this one a lot, Sound Facts.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
fully stocked.
And what else? Yeah, and Salt Marsh.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
I
you've
got that
got the
one.
whole
I love
collection.
that one.
And seaweed.
Yeah.
Take yours and
Seaweed.
show you one. Wait a second. Here we go. Here we go.
I got them all. Oh, you got them too, yeah.
That's
You
adorable.
have all my favorite pamphlets there. I have a couple of them at home, but the one on seaweeds is the one I love the
I
most.
like that one a lot too. And then this one I had gotten a long time ago. I don't. do you
Oh, what
remember?
is that?
It's a laminated thing. It comes with on a ring, and I guess I got them from a past teacher workshop because I attended 3 of them, right? And I actually led one, right? And so if you have any more, I give them out as like awards for my campers at Fire Island.
Excellent.
That
What
is
sea grant?
so nice. Yeah, we can probably make more.
Yeah, we should probably update something like that. What is that? I can't tell which sea grant that is. Can you see? You see the logo is there at the top?
At the top.
Is that
Woods
That's-
Hole.
Woods Hole.
Woods Hole? Okay, so Massachusetts. Yeah.
Okay, Woods Hole. Got it.
Yeah, but I think I have one for here that's I think it's about invasives. I have to check.
This is the
Okay.
invasives one.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I
That's
have
the
that.
one I
Yes,
have.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are great. And thank you for the stickers. I got the stickers.
Yes,
You're
and
fully
thank you
stocked,
so
Fanny.
much. Also, we got the stickers to hand out at CTalk and at our other conferences, and we really appreciate you fortifying us with some of your resources. And I'd like to get hold of that one from Woods Hole to give out as a gift at our conference. That's great.
Yeah, they're wonderful. I remember some of the workshops where you actually gave us the whole Lamont kit for the water
Right.
test. Yeah, so I've been using that a lot. The only thing is that those tablets they expire, for dissolved oxygen, nitrogen, all that. And so to order them, you have to like get them in a pack of like 150. So it's hard to find them just individual because we're only doing like 2 or 3 testings at camp. So.
Oh.
Christina, I see you have a question.
Well, just to answer Fanny's concern about expiration, unless there's something that somebody's consuming, the expiration date is usually more of a suggestion, often a marketing ploy to get you to buy that 1,000 pack. It might be slightly less accurate or effective, but I doubt they stop working on the day they expire. So
Okay, so
I
how
would
long do you think
proceed.
they would take? Like, would it last like 2 years?
I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
I have absolutely, most things that have an expiration date are usually pretty good until they change physically. So if they start to look or smell or behave differently, they're
Yeah.
usually pretty stable. It would vary from product to product, but
Fanny, where
Eh.
are you located?
Say that one more time.
Where are you located?
Oh, I live in Patchogue, and I work for Nassau BOCES Outdoor Environmental Education Center.
Maybe
and I also work on Fire Island at Point of Woods
Wow.
as a summer camp counselor.
Maybe if we collaborate and there is like, many people in the same situation, perhaps we can help you. Because I buy the refill kits and I go through them pretty quickly, and they're very cheap when you buy them. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
okay.
I'll just chorus in with Christina. I've used them many years past the expiration date, The idea is to show the technique also, it's
Right.
not always to get the actual exact result, but to show them the technique and all the background talking that you do about the particular parameter and so on.
Mhm.
I have a technical question about the watershed. You showed some really great diagrams and pressed a lot of buttons to show different um, things in the watershed. So I wanted to ask, since you showed one slide which had a lot of the tributaries and rivers in the watershed, that was amazing. How is it determined? How is the boundary determined for the watershed? Because I see that it spreads out just in some direction, and then the boundary is created maybe ecologically, and then even though those rivers and tributaries look like they're still moving east and west, it's cut off somehow to or it stops within a deliberate area, and then it comes all the way down to the Long Island Sound. Why isn't it more in the other states as well? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was just thinking about these questions when you were showing these great maps. So I guess my question is, how are the boundaries
So
determined for a watershed?
could I just
Go
Could I
ahead.
So what you're not seeing in that map is the topography. So you might have 2 streams that are next to each other, but they're 2 miles apart And because of the topography, one flows east and the other one flows west, you know. And so using topographic maps and the local USGS, the Geologic Survey, determines the flow of the various streams. This is all, the USGS has mapped out all the streams in the country. And they have monitoring wells on many of the streams which are accessible online. But you know, it's a science, and yet it's also fudged a little bit about exactly where the boundaries are. It's like if you ride along the Long Island Expressway or the Southern State Parkway, the state has put up signs saying you are now approaching the watershed of Long Island Sound or the South Shore Estuary Reserve or the Peconic Estuary. And it's the rivers and streams might be very near each other, but they flow in slightly different directions, which determine the outflow. Jen.
Very interesting. Thanks, Lou.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lou. And thank you for taking that one, because that's a really good question. And that's what I was gonna say, is that my understanding is that it is based on the topography. So for example, and here in this map that I showed, you see here, it says a drop of rain falling within the watershed has a chance of arriving in Long Island Sound. Raindrops falling outside the watershed will flow in different streams and rivers and arrive in other lakes and oceans. So that's kind of how, basically what Lou said, right?
Yeah, no, we dealt with it with the South Shore Estuary, which is much smaller, but it was the same thing. We came up with 100 streams that flow into the South Shore Estuary that were named streams. And in most cases, people talk about 50, you know, but there actually are all these small little streams that empty into the larger rivers. So
Yeah.
That's so helpful. I see those signs as well, even going up into lower New York, going out to Warwick and those various small towns, and you kind of drive in and out of the watershed as you're moving around, and you see the signs on the highways. You are now leaving, you are now entering the watershed. So, you know, and of course, those signs are always near some kind of stream or river, so you're going over it. But it's fascinating, really. And the map you showed with all the different I don't know, what would you call it, like different things that you want to show about the watershed are fascinating, really, very, very interesting. And I think any teacher or educator would not only benefit from this material, but themselves be very interested in it and to convey that interest to their students. I find it very exciting.
Yeah. And well, one thing I want to add is that whenever we talk about watersheds, we always like the number one lesson I like to say is like that everybody lives in a watershed, right? Like you can live in the driest region you can imagine, but everybody, when water falls on the ground, no matter where you are, it's going to end up somewhere, whether it's groundwater or whether it's a stream or whether it's eventually an ocean or a lake. And so that's kind of one of the main lessons that we try to drive home, so that people think about the connectivity of all of these systems, right?
So, does anybody have any other questions?
Me, Christina.
Oh, Christina, go ahead.
In listening to all of these narratives about resources, I'm struck by the fact that we have at Kingsborough a professor who passed away, but he created some really good educational resources that I would like to publish, and we've just found his next of kin, so we're working in the direction of publishing them, sort of just a marine science guide. But two questions. One is they might be useful to NYSMIA or to Sea Grant, and I think it would be really a tribute if we made them available and shared them more widely. So I'd be happy to do that because we're not looking to make money. But two, would Sea Grant provide funding for me to perhaps hire an intern? Because they would need to be updated and polished and tweaked, and that might come at a cost in terms of man hours. Does Sea Grant fund that sort of thing? I don't know what it is, but publishing, I guess.
We have research grants. So I wonder if it would qualify under our research grant. What do you think, Jimena?
I mean, I've gotten a Sea Grant before, but it really was for field work.
I don't think it. Go ahead, Christina.
Well, I was going to say, if not this, then I can probably get funding through my school. So I'll sort of throw it out there that if this ever does come to fruition, in sharing out all those resources, it seems like it would be nice to have a clearinghouse where many similar resources can reside. And does that exist? Or does NYSMIA want to create that?
Well, we used to have a tremendous library of books and things, but I think today demonstrates how much is available. When NYSMIA started, there was nothing available. So we all got together to share things because nobody had anything, I say that, we used to have to go to a library and look in the card catalog, find a book about ecology, and then dig out a book about coleenterates and beg the librarian to Xerox the page with the jellyfish on it or whatever. And that's what you held up in the classroom. And now, look what we've just been presented with today. It's a completely different thing. It's a matter of curating how much stuff is out there. Just out of curiosity, who's the professor you're talking about? Jim? The professor at Kingsborough? Huh?
Jim Getz.
Jim
Yeah.
Getz. Yeah, of course. Right.
Getz.
Oh, yeah.
Jim Getz.
Right.
You remember him?
Oh, sure.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We have a photo essay contest in his memory, and
he had a fantastic lab, and he was a great guy. And he participated in the NYSMIA conferences that we had at Kingsborough, along with Lenny Abrams and some of the other people. I'm not sure if you know some of them, Gary Sarinsky and people.
I've heard their names. Yeah. Gary.
But the thing for NYSMIA, I think, listening to what you were saying, I was intrigued by the modules that you were talking about, where you have a focus on a particular thing, and you talk about the lesson plans that are associated with those modules, and also the unit on plastic pollution. I think that what NYSMIA has to do, again, there's so much out there, that what you have to do is put together materials for a high school biology teacher teaching about ecology. Which of the tremendous resources you've just shown us would I use in my lesson plans for this week talking about ecology? Or if I'm an earth science teacher talking about whatever, water flows or rocks, and minerals, and so on. And that's the word I used before, to curate the tremendous amount of material that's available. I mean, my head spins with the amount of stuff that is now available by the touch of a button, and you could show what Lisa was talking about, the different layers on the maps, but if I'm Joe, the teacher, and I'm teaching earth science to 9th graders, and I have a regents outline or a course outline that I have to follow, and I know that I have to teach about rivers and streams, which of those have I successfully been able to use in the classroom? And that's sort of like your master teacher program, But I'd like to see NYSMIA going in the direction of putting 5 teachers together who've taught these subjects, and then work with them on which of the materials you've used. Like in the old days, we compared Xerox copies of different organisms, and now you have 50 different videos. Which video is the best one to use?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I think in that way, NYSMIA can contribute And we might even be able to get some teachers to help work on that. So for example, let's just say we wanted to model a particular lesson plan, and then go through all your resources and figure out how to connect those resources to the lesson plan. And we could showcase lesson plans just to start out, and then get a little bit more progressive after that. Maybe do many lesson plans that would coincide with the curriculum that, as Lou said, that they're required to teach, and then maybe do it at different levels. I mean, I could help get that started within the Nesmia community, because I think that could be something that we could all work on, participate in.
And if nobody else has anything to say, I just want to point out, Anita, are you here? So Anita Freudenthal's on this call. And in the 1960s,
I'm here.
there she is. In the 1960s, she was the marine biologist for Nassau County. And when you had some dead fish in your backyard in your canal, you called Anita, and she did the testing. And she started it all before we even thought about any of this stuff. So I just wanted to say that because she's on the call, and I thought you people should know that.
Yeah, welcome, Anita.
I've been listening.
I also want to mention, Christina, you might consider, I'm not absolutely sure about this. Nesmia just got a grant from the National Marine Sanctuaries Foundation. So we're going to build ROVs at a high school in Brooklyn. And then we're also making 2 field trips, one to SUNY Maritime and one to the New York Aquarium. And we're going to have Ellen Pickich, who is one of our awardees, and she works out of Stony Brook, and she's been doing some really fabulous work on eDNA. She's going to be our guest lecturer. And so all that's going to take place under this $10,000 grant. This is how much they award. It has to be above 5,000. So I would suggest maybe reaching out to them and tell them about the story you just told us, and ask them about research grants, because not just trying to translate everything into a coherent document of some kind, but then later, how would that be used? And so if you wanted to connect that back to Nesmia, to say that we would be testing it or using it in teacher classrooms, with the connections through Nesmia, something like that.
Disseminating.
Yes, exactly. Animating it. So you're not just doing the research and creating documents for researchers, but you're actually animating it and making it useful in the classroom.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and disseminating it to a broader audience. Yeah,
Right.
great
So this
idea.
is welcome. So we've been on for a wonderfully long time, and we so appreciate the presentation given by Jimena, Perez-Viscasillas, and Lillit, Genovesi, and all the materials that they brought to us this evening. You have or will have shortly the recording, which Blue is going to post. And you can use that recording for educational purposes, of course. And then also, if after tonight, if people become a member, they can get into our library of these First Thursday and Teaching Techniques presentations. So unless anybody has anything else they'd like to say, contribute, comment about, or ask about, I think we
Is
will
anybody going to submerge at the Hudson River?
What's the date on that, Christina?
That's going to be Friday and Saturday, May, let's see, I've got it right here, May 16th and 17th, Hudson River Park in Manhattan.
Christina, I'm also gonna jump off. But I left my email in the chat. If what you need is potentially a student to help you, like, I don't know, like clean up those resources or something. We actually had a student in Brooklyn reach out to us recently looking for opportunities. So if you want, email me and I can try to connect you.
There you go.
Wonderful. So you're JBP 255 Cornell?
Yep.
Oh, bless you. Yes. Yes.
Okay,
I'm
wonderful.
sending it right now. Okay.
All right,
Awesome.
wonderful.
All right.
So thank you everybody for being on this evening. We had
Thank
a
you.
fun evening. Look forward to our next event, and we'll see you real soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
thank
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.